one hidden file, one name Charles never expected. And according to this story, what he discovered inside was enough to turn Buckingham Palace silent. The room was silent. No raised voices. No television cameras. Just King Charles, sitting alone with a file that reportedly contained photographs, security records, travel logs, and private messages. As he slowly turned the final page, he is said to have looked across the room and asked just 4 words. Who exactly is he? According to the narrative, the answer never came as quickly as Charles expected, because this wasn't simply a story about an alleged affair. It was about trust, Princess Diana's legacy, and royal heirlooms that, according to the claims, may have ended up somewhere they never should have been. If even part of the story was true, it had the potential to become one of the most damaging private crises the royal family had faced in decades. Before we uncover how one mysterious file reportedly changed everything inside Buckingham Palace, take a second to subscribe. We bring you dramatic royal stories and the hidden moments behind history's biggest headlines. Now, let's begin. According to the story, everything began on July 1st, 2025, inside Buckingham Palace's Blue Room. Charles wasn't preparing for another routine royal meeting. Instead, he had reportedly been handed an internal file containing weeks of collected information. There were photographs, access records, travel logs, and security reports. None of it had been discussed publicly. None of it had been confirmed by the palace. But according to the narrative, every page pointed toward the same disturbing question. Had someone close to the king been hiding something for months? The alleged report centered around Edward Langley, described as a long-time royal household employee. What made his name significant wasn't that he was an outsider. It was the opposite. According to the story, Edward had worked within royal circles for years. He understood palace routines, security procedures, and the private world that very few people were ever allowed to enter. If the allegations were true, this wasn't about someone breaking into the royal system. It was about someone who already belonged inside it. According to the narrative, the file included photographs reportedly taken between May 11th and May 13th, near a private estate outside Windsor. Witnesses allegedly described meetings between Camilla and Edward that appeared far more personal than professional. Buckingham Palace has never confirmed these claims, but within the story, they were enough to leave Charles searching for answers. Then the investigation reportedly took an unexpected turn. Instead of focusing only on the alleged meetings, investigators began reviewing palace security records. That was when another location reportedly appeared again and again: the Royal Heirloom Vault. At first glance, that detail seemed unrelated. After all, members of the royal family occasionally access historic collections for official events, exhibitions, or research. But according to the story, this visit was different. Records allegedly showed that Camilla had entered the vault in April under the explanation of heritage research. Nothing unusual until what reportedly happened next. The narrative claims that shortly afterward, a secured trunk left palace grounds without the normal documentation required for items connected to the royal collection. Whether those allegations are true remains unverified, but according to the circulating account, that single discovery transformed what first appeared to be a private relationship story into something far more serious. Because according to the narrative, this was no longer only about personal trust. It was becoming a story about the protection of royal history itself. And when investigators reportedly compared the vault records with the photographs from Windsor, they claimed they found a connection that changed the entire direction of the investigation. According to the story, once investigators shifted their attention to the Royal Heirloom Vault, the entire situation reportedly became far more serious. The vault isn't simply a place where expensive jewelry is stored. It protects some of the royal family's most treasured possessions items connected to coronations, royal weddings, state visits, and generations of history. Among them, according to the narrative, were several pieces closely associated with Princess Diana, preserved not just for their value, but for what they represent to the monarchy. The story claims that Camilla had entered the vault in April under the explanation of heritage research. On its own, that wasn't unusual. Members of the royal family can request access to historical collections. But according to the alleged report, investigators later discovered records suggesting a secured trunk had left palace grounds without the normal approval process. Whether those claims are accurate has never been officially confirmed, but within the narrative, they immediately raised serious questions. Then came the detail that reportedly changed everything. According to the story, a review of the inventory suggested that 2 items connected to Princess Diana could not immediately be accounted for. Financially, they were priceless. Emotionally, they were worth far more. Diana's personal jewelry has always carried deep significance for her family and for millions of people who continue to admire her legacy. If those pieces had truly been removed without authorization, the issue was no longer about palace procedure. It had become deeply personal. According to the narrative, investigators then compared vault records, access logs, and security footage, searching for an explanation. The claims suggested several unusual inconsistencies, but none appeared more important than the alleged communications between Camilla and Edward Langley. Reports claimed the messages hinted at secrecy and careful planning, though none of those allegations have been publicly verified. According to the story, King Charles quietly reviewed every page without interrupting. There were no angry outbursts, no dramatic accusations, but those present allegedly noticed something had changed. The deeper he looked into the file, the less this appeared to be a misunderstanding. And then, one name reportedly brought the entire room to a standstill: Princess Diana. Because according to the narrative, the next discovery wouldn't simply raise more questions about Camilla. It would allegedly place Diana's own heirlooms at the center of one of the most controversial royal stories in years. According to the story, the investigation reached its most dramatic moment when the focus reportedly shifted from the vault to a private royal gathering. The narrative claims that during a small event at Buckingham Palace, Princess Catherine noticed a pair of pearl and diamond earrings being worn by Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter. At first, it seemed like an ordinary piece of jewelry, but according to the story, Catherine believed she had seen them before, not in a modern collection, but in the royal archives connected to Princess Diana. She didn't react publicly. She didn't create a scene. Instead, according to the narrative, Catherine quietly requested access to the archive records. After comparing photographs and inventory details, she reportedly asked one simple question: where did those earrings come from? The story claims Laura appeared surprised and replied that they had been a gift from her mother. Whether that exchange happened exactly as described has never been officially confirmed, but within the narrative, those few words changed everything. Because if the jewelry truly belonged to Diana's collection, it couldn't simply be given away. According to the story, palace experts were then asked to examine the earrings alongside archive records. Reports claimed the findings matched pieces that had previously been listed in the royal collection, prompting the matter to be escalated to the highest level. When Catherine reportedly informed Prince William, she used only one word: confirmed. According to the narrative, that single word was enough to trigger an urgent private meeting inside Buckingham Palace. Present were said to be King Charles, Prince William, Princess Catherine, Princess Anne, and a small group of senior advisors. There were no cameras, no public statements, and no official announcements. Only difficult decisions. And according to the story, what King Charles decided during that meeting would permanently change Camilla's position inside the royal family. Catherine reportedly presented the updated archive records, while Princess Anne, known for her directness, is said to have made one thing clear: if the integrity of the royal collection had truly been compromised, the monarchy could not simply move on as though nothing had happened. According to the narrative, Charles then made a series of quiet but significant decisions. The story claims Camilla's access to certain palace areas would be restricted, security procedures surrounding the royal heirloom vault would be strengthened, and future responsibility for preserving Diana's historic collection would increasingly fall under Catherine's supervision. None of these claims have been officially confirmed, but within the story, they marked a turning point, because this was no longer presented as a family disagreement. It had become a question of protecting royal history. Then, according to the narrative, the story reached the public. Newspaper headlines, social media discussions, and side-by-side photographs allegedly comparing Diana's jewelry with pieces seen at later events spread rapidly online. Whether those claims were accurate remained heavily disputed, but the public reaction described in the story was immediate. The conversation quickly moved beyond Camilla. It became about Princess Diana. For millions of people, Diana's jewelry was never simply a collection of valuable gemstones. It represented memories of a woman whose compassion, struggles, and legacy continue to shape the royal family decades after her death. According to the narrative, that emotional connection was the reason the allegations resonated so strongly with the public. Meanwhile, the story claims Princess Catherine quietly entered the royal archives alongside senior staff to review and secure the remaining collection connected to Diana. There were no dramatic speeches, no public accusations, and no attempt to create headlines. According to the narrative, Catherine chose responsibility over publicity, and that, more than anything else, became the lasting image of the story. Whether these allegations are true has never been officially confirmed, but according to the narrative, one message remained impossible to ignore. Royal titles may change, palace walls may witness countless secrets, but trust, once broken, is far harder to restore than any priceless heirloom. And perhaps that is why this story has captured so much attention around the world. Not because of diamonds, not because of palace politics, but because it asks a far deeper question. Can the future of the monarchy ever move forward if the shadows of its past continue to return? Do you believe these reports reveal a deeper crisis inside the royal family, or are they simply another example of speculation surrounding the monarchy? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more dramatic royal stories and the hidden moments behind the crown.